What were your thoughts when I first told you that I am going back to Malaysia?
You tunggu ah!
When I was on forums researching on how to enter Malaysia in this age of COVID, I saw a lot of travelers posting pictures of their foods. Your nasi lemak looks amazing, but I won't be able to try those foods if I can't even enter the country. My goal with this video is to help you navigate your way to Malaysia, spending the least amount of money, the least amount of time waiting at the airport, and the least number of days in quarantine. Even if you're not traveling to Malaysia, I hope that you'll stick around just to learn the extent a traveler to Malaysia has to go through in order to enter the country. The first thing that you have to do in preparation for your trip to Malaysia is to obtain permission to travel from the government of Malaysia. Before you even make that request, you would need to have 3 items at hand. The first is your official flight itinerary. Second, a copy of your passport. And third, a signed LOU, or letter of undertaking. No matter where you are now living, be it Philadelphia or Geneva, Singapore or Jaipur, you fill out the same LOU form. What is the purpose of LOU? LOU is essentially a letter in which you promise not to be a deadweight to the Malaysian government. Nobody is going to pay for your hotel. Where might I find the LOU? I've actually included the link to the form in my description below. You are welcome. And also in my description below, I have included a list of frequently encountered acronyms. LOU, KKM, MCO, PUS. At first I was like, what is PUS? And then I realized, I am the PUS. One question that you might have is, to whom do I send those travel documents to? This is the one and only time that I'll leave you to do your own research. Call up the Malaysian embassy or consulate nearest you to ask them for their email address. And in your email to the consulate, be clear. Don't write that long ass essay that you were taught to write in secondary school, because you're only going to be receiving a generic response from the consulate. It takes 2 to 3 business days for the consulate to get back to you with your travel approval. The next thing to figure out is when to take the COVID test, if you need it. Remember I promised you earlier that I will help you find a way to reduce your quarantine time? This is the part where you need to pay close attention. There are 2 parties that might ask you for a COVID test. The first is the airline that you'll be flying with, and the second, the Malaysian government. My airline, Etihad Airways, requires all passengers from the US to take a COVID test at least 96 hours prior to departure. Malaysia, on the other hand, does not require a COVID test. However, if you want to reduce your quarantine time from 10 days to 7, you need to take a COVID test at least 72 hours prior to your arrival in Malaysia. So, how do you calculate the time when you should take the COVID test? The math is a little tricky because you're dealing with 2 different time zones. What you need to do is to standardize those times. For example, the estimated time of arrival that is listed in my itinerary is in Malaysian time. What I need to do is to convert that time to Philadelphia time. Therefore, an estimated time of arrival of January 28th, 12 p.m. in Malaysia is equivalent to January 27th, 11 p.m. Philadelphia time. And now we work our way backwards. January 26th to 27th, that is the first set of 24 hours. January 25th to 26th, that is another set of 24 hours, making that 48 hours cumulative. So on and so forth. Therefore, for Malaysia to recognize my COVID test, it needs to be taken. Keep in mind, taken, not when the results are being released. It has to be taken on or after January 24th, 11 p.m. Philadelphia time. Capiche? There are multiple types of COVID tests. This is important. Airlines and the Malaysia government recognize only the RT-PCR test. Just to be safe, I took the test twice. No big deal since my insurance covers them. The first test, I took it 96 hours before my scheduled departure, just so I have something to show in order to board Etihad. And the second time, I took it right before my trip, in order to meet that 72-hour time frame that Malaysia is looking for. At this point, you have your LOU, your travel approval, and your COVID tests. The toughest and most time-consuming tasks are now behind you. Next, you have to download this app called MySejahtera. If you're tired of listening to me, listen to this frontline worker on why the app is so important.
For enter Malaysia, you need to download MySejahtera first, and then you need to register for easy to us to guide you to enter Malaysia with a smooth and with much short time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now is the fun part. You get to choose your quarantine package, standard or premium. There are pros and cons to both packages. As for the standard package, the benefit is that it is cheaper. The price is standard at 150 ringgit per night. The negative is that you might be subject to long wait times at the airport. Also, you will not know where you'll be staying until you arrive in Malaysia, which can be a pro in itself. Is it cool to not know where you're staying until you get here? It is like a surprise awaiting you. As for the premium package, the negative is that it is more expensive. The price varies from one hotel to another. And by the way, there's a set list of premium hotels that you can choose from, so you can't just randomly pick a hotel that you want to stay at. The benefit to the premium package is that you will know in advance where you'll be staying. And when you arrive, the driver is already waiting for you at the airport and you can head directly to the hotel. There are two ways that you can pay your quarantine accommodation. If you chose the premium package, you can liaise directly with the hotel. They'll provide you with a receipt, and that receipt is so important. You'll have to take that with you on your journey. You can also pay via the safetravel.myeg.com.my website. Standard packages, that is your only option to pay in advance. Alternatively, you can pay it when you arrive at the airport. But you want to be getting as much stuff done as possible before your flight to Malaysia so that you don't waste time when you land. Now, you have all the documents that you need, and this is the final step before you fly. And I think this is important. Go get yourself a no-punch binder. Print out all the documents and arrange them in this order. Remember in secondary school you had to do this sejarah folio? This is your moment to make your history teacher proud. First page is the COVID test. In your test result, highlight your name, your date of birth, the date when the test is collected, the word RT-PCR, and hopefully COVID not detected or negative. After the COVID test result, place your LOU or the letter of undertaking. Here's a trick. The LOU PDF has 11 pages. You don't need all 11. What is important is the first 4, up until the part where you put your signature down. After the LOU is your travel notice from the consulate. Next, remember the screenshot you took of that MySejahtera form indicating your hotel package preference? Print that out. Moving on is the receipt from your hotel or from MYEG. Again, highlight your name, your arrival date, your departure date. Lastly, I also included my flight itinerary. This is important because when you travel to Malaysia, the forms will ask you for your flight number, your departure date, and even the seat number that you are on. And you're all set. Now, let me take you on my journey to Malaysia. I start off at JFK. Like at Abu Dhabi and at Kuala Lumpur, the airports will be emptier than when you had traveled pre-COVID. Look at this flight. This is the emptiest flight I've been on. More than likely, you'll get the whole row to yourself. On my flight from Abu Dhabi to Kuala Lumpur, there were only 19 passengers. When you arrive at the gate in KLIA, it is completely empty. I landed at 12:25 p.m. on a weekday. All the stores at the airport were closed. Don't be too startled. Just walk your normal route to get out of KLIA. Eventually, you'll find someone to greet you. Ah, my first sight of human beings. Don't be that guy. That is why place all your documents neatly in a binder. It'll save you and everyone the hassle. You know how Malaysians love stopping on the road to look at accidents? That's me right now. Don't be like me because you'll miss what is actually important, like this QR code right here, which you must scan. And that will lead you to an online form. Don't worry about not having data on your cell phone. Get on the airport's Wi-Fi. And once you complete the form, you have to take a screenshot of the results, which will state that you're now under home surveillance order. That screenshot is important because you'll have to present it to the personnel at the next checkpoint. Speaking of checkpoint, there are many checkpoints along the way until you exit the airport. Each checkpoint serves a purpose. It is really cool to see the different organizations and different uniform units work together in keeping Malaysia's border safe. The airport staff, the health department, the civil defense force, the police force, they're all anticipating your arrival. And that is why it is so important to register in advance, to download the app, and to get your shit together. Before I close, I just want to say, be thankful that you're able to travel abroad during this time. Don't sweat the small stuff. Enjoy the journey because you'll never know who you'll meet along the way. Like this receptionist at my quarantine hotel. Hello. Hi, Chibe. Fun fact, she is my junior from secondary school, and what a coincidence that she's the one welcoming me back to Malaysia. If your airline does not say this, let me do it for you. Selamat pulang ke Malaysia.